Lesson 1-4, Integers and Absolute Value. Before we get into integers and absolute value, I want to talk a little bit about the number line. The number line helps us to compare numbers and arrange them in order. Notice 0 is always in the middle, negative numbers go to the left, positive numbers move to the right. 0 is neither positive nor negative. So numbers increase as you move right. Even though negative 10 might look like a bigger number than negative 5, since it's further to the left, that's actually a smaller number because it's more negative. Sometimes that can get confusing. We use inequality symbols like greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to compare numbers on our number line. One skill to learn is how to graph a number on a number line. In my class, when you create a number line, you want to start by drawing your number line with arrows. This is very important. Number lines always go on forever, so you need to show that with your 2 arrows. Then you want to decide the increments of your number line. You should always have 0. Are you counting by 1s, 2s, or 3s? You get to pick. But you just need to show that by writing a couple increments. So if I'm counting by 3s, I'm going by 3 in both left and right directions. Now say I want to graph the number -3 and 4. I want to make sure I make a very firm dot on the tick marks or on the number line to plot these points. So -3 is an easy one because I've already marked that with a tick. 4 isn't so easy, but I know it's somewhere between 3 and 6, so it's about right here. Okay, so that's how you plot your numbers on a number line. Let's practice. 3 friends score a -1, 4, and a -5 in a game of miniature golf. Compare these scores and order them from least to greatest. We're going to put them on a number line first. The number line has already been created for you in this example. So I'm just going to plot with my purple pen -1 with a nice dot, 4, and -5. Notice that I'm not marking like this. Some people like to just make a bold tick mark. We want a nice dot for our plot. Once you have plotted a point on a number line, okay, sorry, I want to erase this mark there. There we go. Then it's easy to order them from least to greatest. You start furthest to the left, which is my -5. That's less than my -1, which is less than 4. Quick check. Graph 0, 2, and -6. 0, +2, and -6. Order them from least to greatest. I start left and work right. -6 is less than 0, which is less than 2. Alright, this lesson in its title has the word integer. Well, what is an integer? Let me tell you. Integer is a new way of talking about numbers. Integers are whole numbers, positive and negative. So integers aren't ever fractions or decimals because they aren't whole numbers. Integers can be anything on our number lines like so. So -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, etc. They go forever this way and they go forever that way. We can compare them with our inequality symbols. Numbers that are the same distance from 0 on a number line but in opposite directions are called opposites. For example, 4 and -4 are opposites. They are the same distance from 0. 4 is 4 units away and -4 is 4 units away. So -4 and 4 are opposites. -2 and 2 are opposites. -10 and 10 are opposites. Same distance from 0. Integers, again, are the whole numbers and their opposites. That's another way to define integers. A number's distance from 0 on the number line is called its absolute value. For example, If I ask you what is the absolute value of 4, I'm asking you how far away is 4 from 0? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4 units away. The absolute value of 4 is 4. What's the absolute value of negative 4? Again, absolute value is distance from 0. Well, here's negative 4. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 units away. Both 4 and negative 4 have an absolute value of 4. Absolute value is written with these two lines. This symbol right here means absolute value of 3. In other words, what's the distance 3 is from 0? Well, here's 3. 1, 2, 3. The absolute value of 3 is 3. What's the absolute value of negative 3? 3. Notice that absolute value, because it's a distance, is always positive. You'll never have a negative absolute value. Never have a negative distance. So when you see these signs like this, we read that as absolute value of 4. And absolute value is always positive. Alright, here's just another representation of finding absolute value. You can use a number line if you need to, but it's really pretty simple. What's the absolute value of negative 3? Well, 3 distances from 0. How about 3? Also 3 distances from 0. Pretty simple. Write this in words. This symbol here is telling me absolute, I'm going to abbreviate, absolute value of negative 10. Well, what is the absolute value of negative 10? 10. Right over here I'd count 10 units to get to 0. When you see absolute value symbols in an expression, you'd kind of treat them like grouping symbols in our order of operations. So that's our PEMDAS. When you see something in absolute value, it's kind of like your parentheses. You want to deal inside of the absolute value symbols first. So this says 14 minus the absolute value of 9 plus 4. Well, 9 plus 4 is 13. Now find, what is the absolute value of 13? How far away from 0 is 13? Well, 13. 14 minus 13 is 1. There's my answer. Let's try another one. This is saying 5 times the absolute value of negative 4. Well, the absolute value of negative 4 is 4 units away from 0. So just 4. 5 times 4 is 20, and that's my final answer. That brings us to the end of our lesson. Please complete the lesson check 1 through 4. Number 1 and 2, you're going to write an integer to represent a situation. What they mean by that is you're either writing a positive or negative answer. A debt of $50, something you owe someone, meaning you lose money. Is that positive or negative? A dive of 23 feet below surface. When you go down, is that positive or negative? So try your best with 1 and 2. Then in 3 and 4, you're simplifying, and notice that there's some absolute value involved. I see you might have a little trouble with 4, so I'm going to add when you have a negative outside of absolute value. So a negative outside of the absolute value of negative 3. Find the absolute value of negative 3, which is 3, and then the negative just tacks on at the end. So use that knowledge to try your best for 1 through 4.